Hey everyone, welcome back to today's video. So I'm super excited for this video. Today we are going to be talking about all the books that I read in September, and I actually surprised myself considering how busy I was towards the beginning of September. I read a lot of books in the second half of the month. So I thought it would be fun today to kind of rapid fire go through the books that I read, tell you what I think of them. If you want to stick around and see what books I read in September, then just keep on watching. So I know I haven't done a vlog in a little bit. It's been more heavy on the reading content side. That's because honestly I haven't had much going on since about the middle of September. Bryce has had to work a whole lot, and he's had changes in his schedule, which have essentially left not a lot of time, honestly, for us to even hang out, let alone go out and do things. So I've pretty much been a homebody for the last, 2 weeks, which is how I've managed to read so many books, and so that's the reason why I haven't been vlogging as much. I've just been in this kind of rut, if you will, of just going to work and doing the same routine every single day. And I really don't want to bore you guys with that routine because I'm pretty bored and sick of it by now. So hopefully going into October, his schedule will be different to where it'll allow more free time to go do things and to explore and go, to different stores and whatnot. But that's why I haven't been vlogging all that much, just because you can only see me do the dishes so many times before you're bored. So I just wanted to be transparent and explain why there have been no vlogs. But if you do enjoy book content, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe, because as much as I love doing vlogs, doing book content also brings me a lot of happiness, and I love reading, I love sharing the books that I read with you. And so if you want to see more book content, make sure you subscribe. And I would love to grow this community here on YouTube to where hopefully one day we could have our own book club and we can all talk about, the book that we're reading of the month, and we can always share book ideas and different book content with each other. So I hope to one day have that big community, and so any support that you feel like showing is always very appreciated. So thank you in advance. So I'm just going to my Goodreads right now, because I've been making, oh hello, are you here to tell them about the books that you did not read, but you waved by me while I read them? Okay, so I'm going to Goodreads, because that's where I track, yes, yeah, Benny wants you to know that he misses you guys a lot, and he hopes that you're doing well. And if you have any treats for him, drop them down below. No, but anyway, so I'm on Goodreads because that's where I keep track of the books that I've read for the month. So I'm just gonna start with the order that I believe I read them in, and then we'll just go from there. So I know the first one I read was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now, I actually did a whole separate video on this at the beginning of the month, so I will put that link down below. So I won't talk about it all that much, but this book was so cute. The cover is just as cute as the book is, and basically, it's about a woman who her aunt gifts her the Pumpkin Spice Cafe in a small town of Dream Harbor, and she takes the chance at going towards a new career direction because she got bored of her desk job that she held previously. And so she gets into town and she meets this guy named Logan, and he's like a grumpy farmer, and basically he tries his hardest to avoid her and not develop feeling for her, but he is unsuccessful, and over time she also develops feeling for him, and then it just keeps going from there, and it turns out to be a super cute ending, and I just loved how this book was fast-paced, and the way she described like the cafe and the town and the people in the town, it was just so warm and cozy, and it was the perfect fall read to get into the fall spirit and the cozy season spirit. So I absolutely love that book. I think I gave that like a 4-star just because it was pretty quick and easy read. Not like a whole lot of substance, but it was so cute that I just had to give it a 4-star. So I loved that book. And then the next book that I read was, let me see. Oh yeah, I finished Shield of Sparrows, and that also I made a video on, so I can put that down below. But this was a romantasy, like romance fantasy book. It was so good. It gave me the vibe of like Fourth Wing in the romance part, but the fantasy was really good. I loved how the author built the world and described it. I did think there was some part where it kind of dragged on a little bit and it felt a little long, but overall it was really good. And it's about basically Odessa is a forgotten princess. She's picked by a prince to marry instead of her sister, and she is taken to this other kingdom, basically, and she is sent over by her father as a spy to learn about that country and everything that they do, and she's supposed to report back. Well, she's guarded by the Guardian, and she is married to the prince, and she doesn't like the Guardian. They hate each other actually, but over time they grow to evolve into a romantic relationship. All the while he is going out and fighting these monsters, and as the story progresses they find out that these monsters have an infection, and then they are trying to get to the bottom of who created this infection. All the while, she learns that the Guardian is also infected with that same infection. So, as she develops feelings for him, she learns that he's infected, she's super upset, and she wants to basically find a cure for what's infecting him and the animal, and they want to get to the bottom of who created it. And so you kind of go through the story of, him going out to fight, her being a princess, her adapting to her new country, all while kind of falling in love with the Guardian. And at the time, she's fighting it because she's supposed to be married to Xavier, the prince. But then, as the story progresses, we find out that she's never actually married to the Prince Xavier. She's actually married to the Guardian. And this is all done by a blood oath. And so, anyway, a lot happens in the book, and it's a really good book. It's really fast-paced once you get towards the middle to end of it. And I will say, once I finished reading that book, it left me wanting book 2 to come out the next day. But I don't think it's supposed to come out until like 2026, so that's very unfortunate because I have a long time to wait until it comes out. But it was nonetheless a great book. I think I gave it like a 4.3, even though you can't like rate other than like 3, 4, 5 on Goodreads, but I gave it personally a 4.3, and I stand by that, and I just think it was a really good fantasy book. I'm becoming a fantasy book girly, and that is crazy to me because I would have never guessed that, but here we are. And then let me see, the next book, oh yeah, so it was so funny. I was on Instagram one night, and I'm going through my stories of other people who I follow, and I saw that there was a movie trailer for The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and I was stunned when I saw not only that there was a movie coming out about that book, but also like who was in the movie. And so I could not believe it. I showed Bryce. I was so excited. I still am so excited for the movie to come out. And I was like, you know what? In honor of me seeing the trailer and the movie coming out in December, I want to refresh my memory and reread The Housemaid. So I did that. And so I read The Housemaid again. And it's such a good book. It's super fast-paced, which I enjoyed. And real quick, I'm going to read you like a little summary because I don't want to go too in-depth. But basically, Millie is an ex-convict who is desperate for work. And she takes a live-in housemaid position for a wealthy Winchester family. Nina is the wife, Andrew is the husband, and then Cecilia is their daughter. And so basically Millie is moved into the house and she is put in the attic. And the thing about the attic is that it's kind of old and creepy, but there is a lock on the outside of the door. And so while that does kind of strike her as being odd, she's happy that she has the job, and so she doesn't really say anything. And so Nina gives her a phone and the room to stay. Well, all the while, Millie kind of sees that there's some really weird and sinister household dynamic going on. And Nina, who appears to be perfect, is actually like a complete psych case and like not like right in the head, basically. She's super controlling and abusive, and then her husband Andrew is very manipulative. And so as you're reading this, you're kind of seeing like, you're wondering why Millie was brought in, and you're just kind of like, you can't believe that Nina is doing these things to Millie. And the more Millie is there, she starts to see the relationship dynamic between Nina and Andrew. And she just like is really trying to figure out all these different odd occurrences of like her locked attic door, and it has scratch marks on it, and Nina is forcing her to do like super mundane tasks. Like Millie would clean the floor, and then Nina would purposely drop things on the floor and remake her clean the floor. So little things like that. And then Nina would say certain things to kind of like get Millie off her tracks and all that. And it was just, Nina was very weird. All the while, throughout the story, Andrew starts confessing his frustrations about Nina to Millie, and then that develops into a romantic relationship between Millie and Andrew. And so then Andrew kicks Nina out of the house, blah, blah, blah. And then Millie realizes that Andrew is not basically a good person. And then he starts playing games with Millie. Well, because Millie is an ex-convict, she kind of knows what's going on, so she starts to play the game with Andrew. And so it's kind of like a cat and mouse game where he messes with her and then she flips it on him. And so it's like this super intense scene where he makes her do something and then she gets herself out of it and then makes him do the same thing, but like 10 times worse. And so then we get to like the last third of the book, and basically we find out Nina intentionally hired Millie to eventually unalive Andrew. And that's her way of getting back at him. And so basically that happens in a situation, and Nina tells Millie, like, that's why she was hired, basically. The police are called to the house when they discover Andrew's body. And basically, the police chief doesn't question Nina because Andrew once dated, like, the police chief's daughter or something, so he knew of what Andrew does to his partner. And so he kind of just left Nina off the hook along with Millie. And then the very end of the book, after everything is said and done, you know, Millie's off the hook, Nina's off the hook, Andrew's. The book ends with Millie interviewing for another woman for the same job of being a housemaid, and she says, "You did such a good job for Nina. I want to hire you for a similar situation," basically. And that's how it ends. Wow. So that Frida McFadden is one of my favorite authors, and I enjoyed that book so much. I personally gave it like a 4.5 star. I know it gets like a lot of mixed reviews on it, but I enjoyed it. And I mean, clearly the entertainment was good too, because they're making a movie out of it. But it was full of manipulation, abusive relationships, power of the wealthy, I mean, psychological trauma, psychological, like, illnesses. It was such a good thriller. And so I reread that one, and I'm so happy I did, because now I have like a really good idea going into the movie on what to expect. So I read that, and then, let's see, what's the next book I read? And then after I read that, I wanted to get back into fantasy again. So again, I reread a book. This month was all about rereading books, I guess. No, but the next book I read, or reread, if you will, was Fourth Wing. This book right here. I mean, we already know. We all know about it. It's amazing. 5 stars. It gave me all the feels as if I was reading it for the first time again. Now, granted, it was 2 years since I read it the very first time to when I just read it, or reread it. So, some could argue it was like reading it for the first time, because I didn't remember much, honestly. But wow. That's why it's one of the best fantasy series out there, honestly. It is such a fun book. It's about a war college for dragon riders. Violet is my girl. I want to grow up and be Violet. And I want to ride a dragon and be a rider, and I want to experience everything that she does throughout this book, because it is just the coolest story ever. And yeah, I mean, Rebecca Yarros is just an amazing writer. So easy to read, so easy to understand, so funny with the way she writes about the relationship between the bonded dragon and the rider. The commentary is hilarious. The spice is there. And it is just it's a phenomenal read. I enjoyed every second of it. I'm not typically someone who enjoys rewatching things and rereading things, but let me tell you, I will reread this book over and over. It is so good to the point where I'm reading the next book, Iron Flame. I started that, and I think like 49% in or something. Let me see, where is it? Hold on 1 minute. Oh, 46. I'm 46% in. And let me just say, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So, yeah, I love these books so much, and I want to be a dragon writer. Like, that's it. That's all I want. And my birthday's coming up, and, you know, I gotta figure out how I can make that real. But anyway, so I read that, and then I think the last book that I read for this month, I just finished this morning actually, and it is Lucy Foley, I think, Foley, The Midnight Beast. This book, let me tell you, this is an insane murder thriller story. Now, one thing I will say about this right off the bat is the author is, English or British or whatever you want to call it, English. So the writing in this I found to be a bit peculiar just because she uses a lot of English wording and phrases. And so I don't know if it's just because it's my first English book that I read by an English author or what, but I had to use like a lot of context clues around whatever was being said so that I could fully understand in a English translation what she was trying to get across. But aside from that, I thought this book was very good. I loved the writing style. I love how it goes between all kinds of different characters. There were four main characters throughout the book, and each was told from their point of view. And I loved how fast-paced it was because, like, for example, Eddie, this was his, part, a part in the story, and it was that short. And then, it had Bella right here, and it was only a couple pages before it went to the next character, And so I really loved how fast-paced it made it. But basically, I'm trying to see how I can, summarize, because there was a lot happening in that book, and I want to make sure that, I give a pretty good summary without sounding too far off. So let me see. The Midnight Beast. I'm just going to Google it, honestly. So, it's a murder mystery set at the glamorous opening of the Manor, which is a luxury resort built on the Dorset coast, where a summer solstice feast turns deadly when a body is found. And so the story unfolds through the perspectives of different characters, including Francesca, her husband Owen, a guest named Bella, and an employee at the manor who is named Eddie, and then the investigating police officer, D.I. Walker. And so basically it goes between something that happened 15 years ago in the woods and has been a secret all this time, and it essentially becomes revealed what actually happened at the summer solstice on the opening weekend of the manor. If that makes sense. You'll have to read it to fully understand. But basically, Francesca is this one with the universe, really trying to come across as like this really grounded person, and she's not, fazed by anything, and she uses all natural, holistic items and blah blah blah, and that's how she sets up the manor. It's like a wellness place where people can go to be rejuvenated and escape life and blah blah. All the while, she's really putting on this act to cover up something that she was a part of 15 years ago, and that's the secret that unravels the night of the opening of the manor. And so, anyway, the way this story has so many twists and turns, and how throughout the story you kind of get a sense that some of the people are related, and then as the story continues, it just becomes so mind-boggling what actually has happened and what has taken place and what does take place, that it's really good. Like, if I were to recommend one book for like a fall cozy evening in, pick this up, because it is so good. I read it in a matter of like 3 mornings, separated by like 3 hours each day. It was insane. It was so fast paced. It was so good. And the ending was incredible too. The way the author tied all the characters together at the end was just mind-boggling. So I love that book. I give it like a 4.6 out of 5, I would say. Just because although some of the English terminology and phrases and words were a little hard for myself to personally understand, it still completely, did not take away from the story at all. And it honestly made it that much better, because it felt like you were there in England, in Dorset, on the coast. It was just incredible. So, that is the book that I would probably recommend out of all of these, along with, of course, Fourth Wing, but I'm sure everybody has read that by now. So, the next book is this one right here, The Midnight Feast. So, that is all the books that I read. That's all the books that I read for September. I'm pretty proud of myself. I definitely read way more than I thought I would have, but I mean, I'm happy with this pile. It was so fun reading all these different books. Some of them. Oh, you know what? Wait, I forgot. I read one more. Hold on. This one, The Cinnamon Spice Inn. This was such a cute read. I won't bore you with the details. It was a cute little fall romance. Right here, and basically she. Let me see, what was her name even? Hold on. Madison. Yeah, Madison and Zach. It's a story about Madison and Zach, and Madison comes home for the fall time because a letter was sent to her unanimously by someone, or anonymously by someone, asking her to come home and help her dad with the Cinnamon Spice Inn. And her mom has recently passed away. Her grandma also was there with her dad, helping with the inn, but he just needed help running it. It was very worn down and all that. And so she came back from New York, and she said that she was gonna stay there for like 2 months. Well, then she runs into her former boyfriend, Zach, who she kind of up and left for this New York job about 6 years ago, back when she was 21, 22. And so anyway, he puts every wall up to not go near her because of how she left him back to all those years ago, but she feels really bad for how it ended and how she ended it. And so throughout the story, they're, trying to avoid each other. You know how it goes. Enemies, they don't want to be in a relationship, and then she charms them, and then they basically end up in a relationship. All the while, when they're kind of fighting each other or not being together, he's helping her dad fix up the inn and get it ready for a relaunch in November or end of October. So anyway, it was a super cute, fun read. If you want a quick palate cleanser in between books, I would say definitely go for it. Super fall, super cozy, super funny. I was laughing throughout the book. It was such an easy read, so I also recommend that, and I read that. So I think that's everything now. I'm super proud of myself and all the books I read. I always love reading a lot of books and learning and diving into different stories and being in different worlds. And so this was a really good month for me, and I got a lot of different variety of stories. So I'm going to do another video. We're going to go over my October reading list to be read list, because I have so many good books lined up for like the official fall time, if you will, and for October and the spooky season, and I cannot wait to share what books I have planned to read for October. So anyway, I have rambled way too long. If you enjoyed this video and you're still here, thank you for watching. Let me know what books you read in September. What were your favorites? Did you have any that were kind of like misses and you didn't like all that much? Let me know what books you have on your fall, like October, to be read list. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!